seat on our sofa of wisdom. Yes, here we are. So how are you doing? Have you been around at the fair already?
Of course.
Of course. What's your impression?
Oh, it's amazing. The dynamics,
Amazing. Very busy. A lot of visitors.
Yes, actually, Hall 27 is pretty much the place to be if you want to know about automation, about technology, AI, scaling, machinery. That's definitely the place to go, and robotics. So let me do a quick introduction round so you know the who's who. We got Robert Huber, a colleague from Digital Industry Software at Siemens. He's the Vice President, the Global Portfolio Development Enabler, so to say, at Siemens. Great you're joining us here. We got Howard Tsai. Thank you for joining us. He's the Senior Director at Quanta Computers, and he will tell us the reality, the complexity which creates silos, differing from the design through manufacturing.
Yes.
We got Quan Li, all the way from Düsseldorf as well as Howard. Quan Lin is the Sales Director responsible for EMEA at Techman Robots. Quan will explain how they bring the validated process to the shop floor through connected automation. And we got a Siemens colleague as well from Digital Industries, Dr. Kolja Zakrevsky. He's the Head of Strategy, Electronics and Semiconductors. And you, Kolja, you will explain how the workflow canvas then orchestrates execution, so what's validated digitally can also run consistently in real production. Curious now? We are. So let's get started. Howard, I'm going to start with you, and I think we have a video prepared. For those of you who may not know who Quanta Computers is and what they are doing, can you please briefly explain Quanta and what kind of products you're building today?
Yes, sure. Thank you. I think Quanta was founded in Taiwan 38 years ago, and we start with the laptop ODM business. So since 2007, Quanta has ranked first in shipping volume in most of the year till now. So it means 1/3 of a computer laptop was manufactured by Quanta. So it could be yours or yours. Okay. So
you transformed rapidly at Quanta.
Now Quanta transferred into AI and the automotive device. And in financial year 2025, our revenue hit a record high to 60.8 billion.
Wow.
And ranked in around 348 in Fortune 500.
That's incredible results, that's for sure. So as mentioned, transformation definitely was rapidly within Quantum Computers. What did your transformation mean for your R&D, where you actually are focused in, and the manufacturing teams?
Shall we talk about a challenge?
We can?
Yeah. I think the challenge is obvious, and because from the design is so different, comparing with the commercial device like a laptop and the automotive device, it's quite different from design, manufacture, and the service. The commercial design now is much more mature, and the ratio is lower. But for automotive-wise, it's quite new. For example, like the ADAS or the zone controller is still new even for the OEM, for car makers. We need to implement a lot of regulation or standard. It must be compliant with, and we need to design in from the beginning. So it keeps evolving. In this way, it makes the decision so complicated. It multiplies the difficulty in design and the manufacture.
So what was the turning point in here, and what did you realize had to change to avoid late surprises on the shop floor?
Maybe let's take a running one single program as example, then everybody can have a better understanding for the difficulty. So running one single project in Quanta, it involves around more than 30 departments, and they will generate more than 400 documents.
Ooh.
And the product consists of around 4,500 components and coming from more than 30 suppliers in worldwide. And in this case, Quanta need to industrialize it and manufacture it in multi-sites, our manufacturing site. So in this case, so many units, so many suppliers, data was involved, then it's easy the information end up anywhere. Could be in different server, different system, or in different manufacturer site. Then it problem come out. So I think once that happen, our member may not on same page. That's problem.
Okay. I mean, with that much data and that many, let's say, department working together but still using their own tools, it's definitely hard to keep control and know what to do when. Collier, you're nodding. You want to add something here?
No, I think it's really great what Quanta is doing here, and also the complexity what you are handling, and I think that's also what brought our collaboration together. So we basically started 2 years ago, and Quanta is kind of bringing the real life example of manufacturing, how you manufacture such complex products, and Quan here with the Cobots, which have the AI capability of visually inspecting also those kinds of components, is great. And then we as Siemens joined as a partner, and we great Quanta and Techman chose us here as a partner to kind of bring in the digital connected workflow to really bring that connected manufacturing to life. And I really love that example.
Okay. Now, we have Robert here as well. I think you need to tell us about what is the backbone that creates this single source of truth, and how does it enable early validation before the commissioning, Robert?
Yeah, you're hitting the head on the nail. So the backbone is really crucial. So what Quanta did, they implemented Teamcenter as the backbone for the engineering BOM, the manufacturing BOM, the bill of process down to the execution. And the backbone is actually covering 4 disciplines. It's the mechanical, electronics, the electrical, and the software. And remember what Howard says, in this one project, there are like 30 departments working concurrently. When you do concurrently, you need to have the same data set. You can no longer use emails and spreadsheets, whatever, to keep all up to this. So this is the digital backbone that creates it. And it's not just one instance, it's the revisions that you have and the traceability of it, right? So because when you want to learn very fast in this innovative situation, you may see something that's not completely right, either after manufacturing or in the field. And when you want to learn from it, you need to understand which revision of the data did I use for the design and manufacturing. Only this way you can actually have accelerated learning. And when you use AI to even accelerate further, the data has to be good. Otherwise, AI doesn't really work well. Now, once you have this digital backbone, you can create the digital twin, of the product, in this case, let's say a PCB board, but then also for the process, right? So we use, for instance, the Techman robot for the visualization to check whether everything is good. And so we have Process Simulate that creates the digital twin of the project itself. So it's not just to see whether the robot can actually reach everything, it's safe, it's colliding at the right angle. We can also simulate the field of view for the camera to see whether everything is there.
Yeah.
And just imagine one of the engineers decides we need to change something, creates a bigger capacitor on the board, and all of a sudden the small component behind it is no longer visible. So you have to turn the camera. All this can be done within minutes or short period of time when you do it in a virtual world. If you do this on a real line and try to troubleshoot, you have line downtime, you have scrap, you may even have collisions and damage and things like this. Here, it's all in a virtual world. So with this backbone and the digital thread that we use throughout this, you can really accelerate innovation through collaboration of those multiple departments and disciplines.
I mean, it sounds kind of easy to apply, but I'm pretty sure there is a much more complex way behind it. Now, Quan, talking about flexibility and those cobots, the process is clear, but on the shop floor, what role do these cobots play in the digital backbone?
Well, so of course, I think for any kind of task, you actually need a good tool to execute. So I think that Techman Robots has been striving for creating a very intuitive, flexible, and easy to deploy automation solution with Cobot to face different difficulties from the industries. To put it simply, Techman Robot is the first and the only Cobot manufacturer which integrate the camera and now the AI system into the Cobot, which is to make it doesn't just move. It could see, you can also understand what it sees because it has the AI. And now we are developing the technologies for the Cobot to behave and act based on what they see and they perceive. So the Cobot solution will actually be more adapted to the change of the surroundings. All in all, I believe that Techman Robots is a very flexible, easy to use automation solution. And of course, it creates a beautiful synergy with the Siemens workflow Canva, especially for the application here for the Quanta Automotive. So I think there are some highlights we definitely have to mention here. So first of all, the collaboration with workflow Canva, actually a deep code knowledge is needed. It's very intuitive, very easy to deploy. So I mean, my personal experience, when we integrate the Techman Robot to the whole infrastructure, it's very easy and it decreases significantly the integration cost. As we know for the automation world, the more you have to integrate, the more expense you have to expect. Yes, and I mean, for such a complicated job, complicated project from Quanta Automotive, just the flexibility is not enough. Actually, you need a higher collaborative system which connect all the cells together in the infrastructure, which is very essential. So here, actually, all of the data flowing will be visible, which create the traceability from the workflow Canva, and which can give you actually a comprehensive look and control of the whole system. So I mean, all in all, together with workflow Canva, I believe that it creates a chance that Siemens connects the cells, like the Techman Robot, to the through its digital backbone to turn the validation to a very efficient operation.
Very passionate, I have to say here, and I think we all now know what Techman Robots does and how smart and flexible, of course, your cobots are. Now, next question coming to Kolja. It's definitely impressive what you have achieved altogether. We've been talking about automotive PCBs for autonomous driving, and one critical step is inspection. But how do process simulate and workflow canvas connect digital validation to real inspection execution, Kolja?
Yes, I think it's a question which is really important for all of us because we are speaking here about the brains of an autonomous car. So we want to get it right. And Howard mentioned it already. There are 4,500 components going on such a board. There's more than 30 suppliers involved. And of course, the PCB board needs to live a long time because we want to use our car 7, 10, even more years. So the inspection of this PCB board is highly critical, and we want to have it in a very high quality. We want to ramp it fast. We also want it fully traceable if something goes wrong. So we implemented based on the digital backbone, the Techman Robot, we implemented a workflow which is really first validating the inspection virtually. Second, it's orchestrating the execution of the inspection use case on the shop floor. And third, we are deriving the learnings and improve based on the execution itself. So if we now walk through each of those steps, let us now look at the virtual validation. So we do that in Process Simulate, basically where we already check the safety zones, the reachability, the kind of inspection points the robot needs to do. So really looking at the PCB board, where does it need to go? And then we validate basically the whole sequence end to end, all virtually. So that was number one. Number two is we need to go to the execution of this workflow. And Juan mentioned that already. We are doing that with Workflow Canvas. It's a low-code orchestration platform. So basically all the cameras, PLCs, components, they are easily connected with very simple drag and drop workflows to have that also repeatable and standardized for other factories. And it's a very easy process because you have your PCB board, you scan the QR code, you position the board on the device, then the robot comes in and does the inspection. And this is all very easily orchestrated through that platform. And I think our customers love that, which is really cool. And because it's so portable and so repeatable, it can be then deployed across various sites. And you have seen Quanta has a lot of sites around the world where we would like to implement that solution. So that was number 2, kind of the orchestration. But now we also need to close the loop, right? So all this is done in real time. So the data is collected in real time and fed back into the MES. You see that on the dashboard, so you directly see if a part is not good or not so good, and you know what happened and why it happened. So that you can basically take mitigation measures. But what's kind of the key on all this is because we have so many new product variants, we have also different factories, we also need to learn from this process. So basically, all the learnings are then fed back into Process Simulate, where then the next validation stage is triggered again. But those were now all the technical details, but I would love to hear from you, how our customer, what business benefit did you have from that?
Yes, I think the result is obvious. After we call Siemens, we have problem. So first, around a 15% improvement in efficiency from design to manufacturing, and through a stronger digital integration. So I think it will be better this year after we finish the second phase of the implementation. And second, about 30% faster in on-site commissioning time. It's amazing. I would say it looks like a transformation in mechanical design. In the beginning, we used blueprint. Now we have 3D modeling and simulation. So that with digital twin, we can visualize our product line on your PC, on your screen, and we can validate it by simulation. And before you place order to buy your equipment, you have a confidence. And third, about 25% less documentation effort by partially automating the document generation. Just one click, you will have your SOP and SIP come out. Then last, about 95% data consistency and traceability. But I will say, I can say 100% because in TC, everyone can get the right, correct, the version of the document in everywhere, anytime. And members can co-edit all documents in real time in one single platform.
Wow, I wish that for my project, to be honest, to have everything in one file. There is so many teams also here working together. So we need to talk and get that solution from Siemens, not just for our customers, also for us internally. Now, Howard, where has this already implemented in real factories?
Yes, actually we implement TC in our developing projects, and for the digital twin, we introduced in our German factory setup. And this factory will be highly automated manufacturing facility. We will have a ramp-up soon in July. In this experience told Quanta we should rely on system and the technology rather than individual. It's why we set a factory in Germany.
Okay, great. Now, Quan, asking you, are there any plans to scale Techman Robots to other factories or regions?
Well, of course. I mean, since the process already digitalized and standardized, it is actually very easy to roll this out to other factories as planned to USA, Thailand, or even Mexico. Yeah.
Okay, wow, you're going big here. Kolja, you want to add something here?
I just wanted to add, since we are here in Germany, how cool is that we started implementing that in Germany and bringing kind of the AI from Germany to the world with the kind of all our technology together from a German company, Taiwanese company, and bringing that all together.